Okay, so we're doing this today, not tomorrow. I like to do things tomorrow. Well, welcome to the 10-Streamer Garage. This will be a first for us. It's a video-only podcast. This is the final chapter within the Great Plains Project, a 3,500-mile motorcycle trip up the middle of America. And before we took the trip, so I'm coming to you from the future per this video. Before we took this trip, I went to motorcyclegear.com in Plano, Texas. This was sometime in September. And I needed some adventure luggage, some saddlebags, and some gloves. You'll learn why I needed gloves in this video. And I'm based in Texas, and Motorcycle Gear is just about an hour and a half from me. And so what better place to get your gear than a Texas company? So Mike accommodated me, Mike Stout, the owner. I've done some stuff with Motorcycle Gear before. So it was a good fit to sit down with them in their luxurious showroom. They have a ton of inventory, so you can sit down and try on gloves and look at the bags. I knew the bags I wanted, and we'll get into that later, but let's get this video going, and we'll take it to Brandon and Mike in the showroom at motorcyclegear.com, and then we'll cut back here to the 10-Streamer Garage and review what I bought at Motorcycle Gear. Hey, stay tuned.
This is exciting. I'm in a place full of motorcycle helmets, and if you know me, you know I love helmets, and I love motorcycle helmets. And I mean, it's a vast array of colorful head protection there. We are in motorcyclegear.com in Plano, Texas with the owner, Mike Stout. Say hi to everybody, Mike.
Hey, I'm glad you made it through here, and yeah.
So we're here. I've been teasing this motorcycle, this big project. We haven't said really what it is. Mentioned that it might be a motorcycle trip, but this is to be the second in the, we'll be on the road by the time you hear this and see this video. I'm going to do, Jerod and I will have done a podcast to announce what we're doing before this one. So this will be like a little part 2 of this trip. And then we're going to try to do one podcast from the road. And, I don't know, we'll say that it's going to be a pretty hectic trip, but, I reached out to Mike. I knew Mike from, you guys used to be based in
shallow water.
Shallow water.
Yeah.
Is the water shallow in shallow water?
It's shallow beneath the surface. That's why they called it that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all were based out there. And if you know where shallow water is, it's close to Lubbock and kind of an odd place for a motorcycle retail shop to be.
Yeah, for sure.
How'd y'all wind up there?
So the founder of the company, Paul Thompson, that was actually his family farm. He actually had like an aerial photo of exactly where our building was chicken coops, and all the way up through the 70s and 80s. And then when all that was torn down, he had all the land, so he decided to put the business there when he started it. So,
and why do you want to go into motorcycle retail business?
So he started it. He had gone to buy a new motorcycle, and when he bought a new motorcycle, bought a new jacket like you do. You got to have the new gear that matches. And he walked out. And his old motorcycle's there with his old jacket on it. He's got a new jacket on. What's he going to do with his old jacket? So he realized that everybody has this problem. So he started selling used leathers, high-end used leathers like Vansons, things like that, in motorcycle magazines in the late 90s. 98 is when he started.
Okay.
So kind of before eBay and all that kind of stuff. So. And
then branched off into new gear?
Yeah. So several years of selling the used leathers. And then that turned into closeout opportunities from Vanson and things like Joe Rocket, things that were around at the time. And he rolled it into a website, newenough.com. And then from there, it turned into more and more of the current products. And around 2008, he changed it to motorcyclegear.com.
Okay. Yeah. And then when did you guys, so you bought the business from him.
Correct.
And you were graduated Texas Tech.
Right. So I started at Tech in 2014, and that's when I started working for Paul part-time. And then 2017, I was in grad school, and at that time, Paul was getting ready to retire, so it was a good opportunity.
What drew you to work for him?
Well, I've always been interested in horsepower, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Always cars.
Yeah.
So when I had the opportunity to kind of work in the same kind of vein, I jumped at it, and I've always it's been a great job since I started. So
yeah. There's, especially in Lubbock, I bet you were drawn to, they're national, and they're probably, other than work at a motorcycle dealership, it was a pretty cool job, and you get to send stuff out and talk to people on the phone, and kind of gives you keeps you in touch with a lot of like-minded people. You said you liked horsepower.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you meet people in every walk of life doing this business. So, we have customers all over the world and people that go on trips everywhere. And you just hear about stuff that you never would have thought of. And it's always fun to hear, some random trip that someone's taken. Like we had a gentleman from Germany that was in here last week that is doing a trip around the U.S. and he's going to go through Baja, California, and then down to South America. And it's just it'd be amazing to be take a trip like that. So
yeah, but you got a business, right? You can't,
right? Yeah, I don't have free time like that.
So we're doing something. Like I said, you already know what we're doing because I'm shooting this first, but I'm going to release the podcast with. So I'm going to sit down with Jerod and this class that's going to be following us. We're doing basically like a long way up, and we've got 10 students. And they're gonna split them up for we're gonna be on the road for 2 weeks. Well, it's gonna be 2 weeks and some change. It'll be basically 3 weeks. And so the first 5 students will follow us for the first week, and then they'll rotate. And I don't know what, maybe Oklahoma or Nebraska, and they're all gonna be running cameras and we're, I guess, managing our data as well, because we're gonna be shooting this thing all the time. Our director, Simon Parmley, who you will probably meet, you will have met in the first episode. It's kind of confusing to shoot these out of order.
Right, yeah.
But I've been on some meetings talking about this, and I'm the writer. I'm a writer and I guess talent. That's what they're calling us, what they call the two guys that get to ride the motorcycles. And I'm very talented, by the way. And so I'm on these meetings, and of course, it's Jerod's show, Jerod Foster's show. He put this together, and he's, I don't know, I guess we're technically executive producers, but man, they're talking about cameras and shooting and microphones, and I'm just like.
Well, I can tell you, having working with Simon, he's got a plan for every camera shot that's going to be there, and he knows exactly what to do. So. Oh my gosh.
And it's on and on. He's like, okay, I need to know what what's your motivation and what's your conflict. I'm like, the conflict's going to be sitting on motorcycles for 2 weeks. And I just got a text from Jerod that we're probably going to be riding in at night every day and pitching tents and then picking up and moving on. So it's going to be, it's going to be the longest that I've ever slept in a tent.
Yeah.
Because we're not staying in hotels.
So you're going to be in tents. What about the students that are following you?
I don't know. They're going to be tents too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Simon, they've got a deal with Red River Jeep Conversions. Have you ever heard of them?
No, I haven't.
I think they're based out of Amarillo. It'd be good if I knew exactly where they're based, because they're helping us out with the vehicle. So it's going to be Simon, the director's vehicle, and they do these conversions on Jeeps where they lengthen the rear and then do a pop top. And it's a little bit different from, there's another company called Ursa, I think, that I've seen. And this opens up, this makes it almost like a VW van.
Okay.
And so I guess that's going to be Simon's base camp.
Okay. So I have like a little RV almost set up. Yeah.
So he can follow and shoot. And I've done these trips with Simon before, and he shoots everything.
Yeah. And
it's go, go, go. And you and I, we've done some stuff with Simon. We went to MotoGP together, and he shot a bunch of stuff. I had high hopes for that trip. I had reached out to lots of people to see if I could wiggle my way into some racers, some ex-racers, some of our ex-Texas world champs. And it was just too late, when we started that. It was like 2 weeks before, and everyone was like, but I still have that contact at Moto America, and we need to do, my next step with the podcast is I like to start reaching out to Kevin Swantz, Ben Spees, and do that series that I've been wanting to write about. I pitched it to Texas Monthly, all the Americans, all the Texans that have ridden a MotoGP bike. Perfect pitch.
Yeah.
And they just didn't see any value in it.
Really?
Yeah. Ben Spees, Mike Hill. Have you ever heard the name Mike Hill?
No, that was, yeah.
See, he was a big time world superbike racer when I was working in the industry. And he had ridden a MotoGP bike. He was really on fire in American Superbike, and then he transferred over to World Superbike had a pretty big deal with Power Horse Racing. It was one of the first energy drink sponsors. And I think the pressure, and the bikes, I think they ran out of money too. They ran out of money and the bikes weren't great, and it just basically killed his career. And
then, they always say if you want to be a rich person that races, you got to start out as an extra rich person that races.
Yeah. If you want to make $2 million, you need to start off with $4 million.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Money just runs out whenever you're on the track.
Yeah. And so we're doing this big trip, and I needed some gear, and Jerod runs Moscow Moto. And, Moscow Moto sells direct to customers.
Yeah, direct to customer, fantastic products. Love their products. They just won't let us sell them.
Yeah, fantastic products. So the last couple of trips we've done like this, we did a trip where we rode from the Gulf of Texas down to, or up to the Guadalupe Mountains.
Mm-hmm. It was like low to high, right? Low point to high point?
Yeah, it was a long way up. So, we called it Lone Star Way Up.
There you go.
Yeah. That was featured in Parks and Wildlife, and then I did a little piece for Upshift magazine. But yeah, we called that the Lone Star Way Up. And I'm kind of adverse to panniers, to saddlebags.
Mm-hmm.
And one, I didn't want to put the racks on the bike.
Yeah,
I don't like the way it makes the bike look. You got to put the racks on so you can put the saddlebags on.
Right.
And I got those Outback, the saddlebag racks. But I didn't want to do the first several trips I did. I didn't want to do that, and so I bought a dry bag, and then I had a couple of Oveja Negra bags, a company I'm affiliated with for bike packing, and just pieced it together. But I'm like, man, we're gonna be on the road for nearly 3 weeks. I need some saddlebags.
Yeah.
And I'd worked with you guys before, and like I said, we went to the MotoGP with Simon, and he shot some footage, and we got to go to some great industry events.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. And so I was like, man, I need to reach out to motorcycle gear. And I had looked at several different brands, and I talked to you about kind of what you would recommend, and kind of settled on Nelson Rig. And so that's what we're using for myself. Where did I put it? There it is. So this is a saddlebag that we're running. And James, your brother, he was in here. He was going to be third mic. That's when we have a invisible mic set up. That's for the invisible racer there. And he said y'all never had a Nelson rig actually in the shop before.
No, not a saddlebag. I mean, we've sold several of them, but they stay gone when we sell them, so we don't ever get a chance to see them.
So y'all do direct ship. So y'all order, and it'll go from.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff here, but an item like that is maybe not as high a demand as some of the other stuff. We'll just we'll drop ship it, so the customer, maybe Nelson Rig has it in a warehouse that's a state over for them versus us where we're maybe we're in the middle, but we're maybe 2 or 3 days to ship versus 1 day. So
and that people may not understand that your retailers generally don't carry a lot of inventory.
Yeah, and so we have 86,000 SKUs. And if we've inventoried all that, it'd be more than this entire building can hold. So
yeah, and it would it doesn't in retail. Your space is very valuable, so you don't waste it with anything. But I'd kind of settled on this Nelson rig and reached out to you guys, and I was like, man, I want to deal with a Texas company, someone that and someone I know. I know your name, and we've done some stuff together, and so it's just your competitors. We'll talk about your competitors. Motorcycle Gear and Revzilla, those are the basically the behemoths.
Right. Well, we are Motorcycle Gear.
I'm sorry, Revzilla and Cycle Gear.
Cycle Gear, which they are actually the same company now. Yep. And JP Moto or JP Cycles also.
And the only reason I bring them up because we're sitting in motorcyclegear.com. I hate Cycle Gear. Always have, and you don't have to endorse that, but like,
I mean, I'll tell you. There's been contentious stuff in the past with them, just on a corporate level, but nothing malicious or anything like that. And then since we moved here, they've been just fantastic.
Really?
It's been really good.
Yeah,
they're relatively close to us.
Yeah,
and we send customers their way, they send them our way.
Well, that's really nice.
Yeah, it's a good relationship.
My personal preference is the stores. Like this store feels, your showroom's small, but it's got a good vibe to it.
Thank you.
Cycle Gear, they're sterile.
Oh man,
they're just a real sterile location. And I've shot there. I've bought helmets at Cycle Gear, and I've bought stuff from Revzilla. But I love you guys. I want to.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Definitely appreciate that.
yeah,
Yeah, we tried to go a little more bespoke, I guess is the word for it.
yeah,
We like for people when they come in, almost more like when you go to buy a suit, to where you go in and someone takes your measurements and they hear about what you need the suit for. That's what we do. We hear about what you need the gear for, and then we start bringing out, okay, what about this side? I mean, because obviously we have a small showroom and there's just a huge amount of product in the warehouse in the back, so not everything's in here. So someone comes in and they're a sport rider, they're looking for a suit. We don't have them on the showroom floor, but we'll go get everything out of the back and we'll show you, suit, boots, gloves, helmets, and no one here is on commission. So it's what the customer needs, and that's the main thing that we try to get across is we're not trying to sell you something, we're trying to sell you what you need.
Yeah, and that's what I've always loved about you guys. And when we went to MotoGP, went to Circuit of the Americas, the Austin Formula One track, and went and watched MotoGP, and you talked to several vendors, and I mean I was just really impressed at the knowledge base that you have from just selling these things and like knowing what your customers want. And so it's just it's really impressive.
Yeah, you learn pretty quick when something's a dud that you got to call it out. And that's we'll sell you anything you want as long as we can get it.
Yeah.
But if something is bad, we're gonna tell you, hey, maybe don't buy that.
Yeah. So Nelson Rig, I went with this. This is like their first. I don't know if it's first generation, but there's a newer bag that's more of that current adventure look. Mm-hmm. Have y'all sold a lot of those? Compared to these, are those more popular now?
Well, because these are a closeout, we sell more of this style. Because I mean, the price on them is just really hot right now.
Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, the replacement for that, I forget their new line name, but it's is it the Hurricane line?
You're right. Yeah.
So that line when they debuted it, Nelson Rig is always at all the shows, and they've got their bike set up with everything they carry is just on the bike, and it's something to see because they have luggage for stuff you wouldn't even think to store in places, and they have something that fits there. So they do a really good job. I like Nelson Rig. Yeah,
me too. And I looked at the new generation, the Hurricane, but I like a look that's a little bit more streamlined, mm-hmm. and that's got some. It's a little bit more like the Moscow Moto. They've got attachments for stuff to go all over it. And that's always been my big issue with Moscow Moto is they look really sloppy on the bikes. Oh, yeah. When you see them going down the road, they've straps and everything floating around and everything. But I mean, also it's some pretty pricey gear. It's not cheap. And so I'm like, man, I could get this stuff kitted out and I can still pay for the rest of the trip.
Yeah, there you go.
But don't get me wrong. I love the Moscow Moto because I mean they got some cool colors and every adventure dude in the Rocky Mountains on a KTM is running Moscow Moto.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I'm kind of a curmudgeon. I'm like the old guy in the room. It's like
tried and true. Where's that at?
Yeah, I don't want to do what the new guys are doing. But the Nelson Rig. When I got to finally look at this stuff, it's basically a dry bag and a saddlebag.
Yep.
And so I like the simplicity. It's got some reflectors on it. It's got this, you helped me put the liner in. It's got a plastic liner that slides in there that keeps it rigid. So there's nothing in this thing. It's full of nothing, but there's a plastic.
Yeah, just kind of hold the shape on there. Yeah.
So I'm looking really forward to what we're going to do is we're going to put these on and we're going to see how they do for the trip and do a little report on, see what my opinion matters.
Yeah. And once you have that, you can come back to our website and leave a review on it and share your feedback so everybody else can
I'll definitely do benefit. That. Yeah. And we'll do some Instagram posts on my thoughts. Since I am a bike packer, I kind of and a bag lover. I mean, I'm obsessed with bags. I've just always loved bags ever since my 15th, not my 15th. Yeah, I guess it's my 15th Christmas. I'd be 15 years old. I got a Toomey duffel bag.
Yeah.
Ballistic nylon. That's my first experience with ballistic nylon in like 1985 or 4, So I just have a love of textiles. So I'm pretty excited about this. And then I reached out to you guys on what you recommended for boots because I've got some big motocross boots and I did the first trip on those. My feet got really hot. We're not doing super technical. We're doing all dirt roads. This route that Jerod's laid out is a bike packing route it's a bicycle route. We're doing on these motorcycles to shake it down and connect it all together, make sure everything, make sure all the roads that he's put together are connected. Because sometimes when you connect gravel roads in the United States, they go to a ranch and it's done.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're on a bicycle and you've got to turn around and backtrack,
that's a long ways and a long time that you just,
yeah. And so I was asking you about boots and what y'all's popular boot, and you recommended the
that's the Forma Adventure Low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And y'all said that's probably one of your more popular boots.
Absolutely. Yeah. Forma makes a great boot. So Forma is it's a company based out of Italy. Their headquarters in the U.S. are in Reno, Nevada.
Okay.
So they ship out of Reno. When they do their research, they're in a little town in northern Italy, and they design the boots, and then they go to the cafe with the other guys that design the boots for all the competing companies, because they're all kind of in this little town.
Mm.
So when they come out, you'll see a boot from Forma and a boot from a competitor that looks almost identical. It's because they went to lunch together and showed each other the pictures. So
I mean, it's a pretty sturdy boot. It's got some flex to it.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward. Here's bad news, Mike, and I bet you can help me with this. They're too small. I told you 44, and
Okay.
so
we'll get you 45.
Yeah,
No big deal. But I do have 45s on something in the building. If I don't have this exactly, we'll do a Forma. They have the same last for most of their boots.
Okay.
So we'll get you sized up and make sure 45 is good.
Yeah. This sounds like a commercial, but it's not. I love gear, and like I said, I mean, why wouldn't you go to a company that's Texas based and that I know the owner, and you're a Texas Tech graduate, so
Yeah.
this podcast for the first 5 or 6 episodes was nothing but Texas Tech people, professors,
It's good people to have.
yeah, students, yeah, Red Raiders. So yeah, I put them on just now. I'm like, oh man,
That's all right.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll, if I don't have them in the building, I can get them. No big
Yeah.
deal. So
And then I'm also adverse to tank bags, but Jerod had a pretty nifty Moscow Moto tank bag, and I went with the smallest one.
yeah, when that one came in, I was like, man, this is a lot smaller than I thought he was going to need. So I was a little worried.
I'm trying to be minimal. I'm trying to be a minimalist on this thing. And the first time we did it, I was minimal. I had a 38-liter dry bag, and then I had these 2 Oveja Negra Porteros that are backpacks, and they're made out of X-Pack, and they're a laminated waterproof fabric and everything. But yeah, you stuff them and roll them around. They don't strap down nice. And I just wanted a place to put my phone, put my wallet, and all the cigars that I'm going to smoke.
Right, there you go. Celebratory?
Yeah,
Otherwise?
I'm going to get me an old-timey pipe, and I'll put in here and
There you
smoke that
go.
like my granddad, a corncob pipe.
Sit around the fire at night.
Yeah, and pontificate, blow bubbles out of it.
There
The
you
kids
go.
are like, what are you blowing bubbles out of a pipe? Well, I'm not going to smoke. I'm a healthy guy.
Right.
And then we did this. I don't know anything about tool rows. I just saw that as a Nelson rig, and it looked like the most simple. So
Yeah, they definitely have. There's another Trails In one that's it's huge. It's probably 2 of those tank bags worth.
yeah,
So yeah, this one here, you get a lot of storage in it. Sorry,
No.
a lot of storage in it.
but if I'm going to say if you need more tools than that, then I'm calling a transport truck, and
Yeah, that's more tools than I would get through trying to deal with something. It's I mean, maybe a hammer somewhere in there, like just try to fix it with a hammer and then
to kill your partner, and then say I'm flying home.
I'm flying home, done with this.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I'm riding up the middle of the country, but the point of this trip is Jerod. He is fascinated with the Great Plains and the history and the story of the Great Plains. It's it's where our megafauna roamed. It's kind of it's like a canary in the coal mine. You can tell what the health of the country is by how healthy our grasslands are.
Mm-hmm.
And he's showed me pictures from previous trips on the bicycle and just beautiful gravel roads that just serpentine up through green meadows and pastures and quaint little towns where people embrace you and ask you what you're doing. And I mean, I love riding in the mountains. That's fantastic. All the backcountry discovery routes, the off-road motorcycle routes that are designed in Idaho and Colorado and New Mexico. We've done part of the New Mexico, and those are fantastic. But I like having an unexpected adventure in a place that people don't expect adventure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The plains, you kind of think of them as plain.
Yeah.
But there's so much beauty there. Like you said, when you're riding through, just seeing the different landscapes and the small town people, man, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a little slice of Americana, I think.
Yeah.
And we're going to finish in North Dakota in October, so it could be cold.
Yeah, probably.
So I'm a little bit worried about that, but I mean, I'm used to camping. So yeah, we're going to look at gloves before I leave. I think I talked to you about that and recommend what you recommend. Yeah. And I guess if you have something close that you could.
Well, yeah. So for gloves, you're talking. You want waterproof, windproof, Gore-Tex, or would you rather have mesh and use a liner?
Geez,
probably 2-in-1s where you have air, or you can go in a different portion of the glove and you have a Gore-Tex liner.
Okay, let's stop our tape. We'll get some gloves and then we'll check that out, and then we can restart our camera.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, thanks, Brandon and Mike over at the Motorcycle Gear Showroom. We're back at the 10-Streamer Garage. In the future, past, it's all very confusing, but I've been on the trip. What you saw were the new boots, the Forma Adventure Low boots. This is what I took on the trip. Great boot. good price on this boot. We did some aggressive double track, and I felt like this might not be enough. This was at the beginning of the trip, so I felt like this might not be enough boot. And as we went on, I really grew to love these boots. Simple straps, like I said, great price, one of the best priced adventure boots on the market. Here's the only thing I don't like. And I hate this with all adventure boots, and I think since they're called adventure boots for adventure motorcycle riding, they have this aggressive tread for hiking. You don't hike a lot on these trips, and I find that goofy. It makes it hard to work your feet on the pegs, so that is my only gripe, and I think they do this for show. It's just like lug tires on a pickup. People like the way they look. They do look cool. They look very rugged, but let's smooth this out, folks, like a motocross boot. It's not necessary. Maybe when you're pushing back in a gravel, I did realize I needed a little bit of grip when you're pushing these big heavy bikes in the gravel to like turn around at camp. But other than that, smooth them off like a motocross boot. And that would make these things top notch. I would love that. So that's the boot. We're going to be quick on these reviews because you can go anywhere and get a review of gear and a lot better reviews, but I've been riding motorcycles a long time, and I am very select when I look at gear. I don't buy gear for the name or because some other YouTube or person online has recommended it. I buy what my friends have bought or what I've recommended and what I've looked at and know what I need. So that's why we went with the Adventure Low Forma boots. Really great boot. And Mike recommended this. Like I said, good price, warm, look good. They don't look like, like you're getting ready to do the AMA Supercross series. So I love these. Let's move on to the bag. So these are the Nelson Rig Sierra dry bags. I think they were discontinued, but I've noticed they've made a reappearance as the Adventure Deluxe dry bags, and they're a lot more. But this is if you go to the Adventure Nelson Rig, this is the Sierra dry bag. And basically it's just a dry bag it's got straps on it to go onto your adventure motorcycle probably can't see the racks, which I talk about in this video, how much I dislike putting racks on your adventure bike because it changes this whole area between the wheel and the seat, which as a kid, I've always loved that look. But utilitarian, you need utility. So I went with the Nelson Rig Dry Sierra bags. Per looking at Instagram a few years ago, there was a popular Instagram guy that these were the bags he liked, and so I followed him a lot. And they look simple, and I went with them because I thought once they packed, they would look streamlined and not look messy. Because in the video, I talk about Moscow Moto and how I'm not a big fan. I love the build, I love the colors, and they're bulletproof bags, and you pay for that. But they look messy on the bike, and that's always bothered me. Now I know why. These bags look messy. All bags look messy on the bike, especially 3 days into adventure. Things start getting pushed around, and you start opening them and closing them, and they just don't look as smooth and clean as you'd like. And if you look at the pictures from our trip, our Instagram posts, these bags looked messy. And they perform well. I mean, the price on these were awesome. And here's the thing that I really did not like, and that's the strapping system on these. Since we were on and off the bikes all day long, more than your typical adventure rider, since we were shooting a PBS documentary for Texas Tech PBS, we were off the bikes on and off. We'd stop and meet back up with the crew, or Jerod and I'd figure out where we were going. So I'd be getting stuff in and out of the bags. And here's the thing, these little straps, really cool, metal, bulletproof, but man, taking those out, off, on and on all day long, just killed me. I mean, Jerod in his Moscow Moto with the single plastic big buckle, I understand. They're plastic, and so you would think less durable plastic, but I've had plastic buckles on all my bikepacking and my bikepacker, ovejanegra.com, or no, ovejanegrabikepacking.com. It's where I get all my bikepacking bags, and all their buckles are plastic, and I've never had one fail. So there's nothing wrong with plastic buckles. Here's the other thing. These straps that come up from the bottom of these bags and loop into these little hooks, well, these. So you've got 4 buckles. Yep, there's a 4th one. So when I would undo my bags, I would have to do 4 buckles, and sometimes there's stuff on top. That's fine if you're just getting up in the morning, riding all day, stopping for lunch at a cafe or someplace in the mountains, but we were generally eating off the bags, eating off the bikes, and in and out of the bags all day. So getting gloves, changing gloves, notepad, and I've got a tank bag that I kept my notepad and pen in, but that's my only gripe. But for the price, you cannot beat these bags. And as you can see, I have not cleaned them. They're probably dustier than your average adventure ride, because we were on gravel roads the whole time. And I was generally behind Jerod Foster eating dust, so I kept them extra dusty. It's been almost a month, 2 months since we've got back from the trip, and I kept them dirty so I could shoot this video. Well, that's the Nelson Rig saddlebags. They were great. But here's a little note. I think at some point I'm gonna get some Moscow Moto bags after watching Jerod work with his bags and fill them, and they go on off the back. They have those quick release on them. I like the colors and all the compartmental attachments, the accoutrements that go on them. So in the video, I talk a little bit about how I think the Moscow Moto are messy looking, but they actually looked cleaner towards the end of the trip as far as stuff hanging off and how stiff they are and how they pack. So I'm gonna eat my words. Probably pick up a pair of Moscow Moto at some point. Let's talk about the tool row. How about that? Tool row. This is the Trails In tool row. Tool row. If you follow the trip, you know we use this to change the flat and various other little things. It took a beating. It's just Cordura. It's probably not Cordura actually. It's got some holes in it, but that is from putting the tire on it that we changed. But I can't complain. I love it. Simple tool roll. You know, got all my stuff, the sockets and tools, and I kept it on top of that Nelson Rig draw bag. So it's a little dirty, and we didn't have any rain, so we're not going to review the Revit rain gear. But I put it on just for a bit. Fit great. Looked good. I was highly visible, so I can't complain. I love the Nelson Rig, or no, that's the Revit rain gear. It was good stuff. Fit well, packed down nice, and I appreciate the recommendation from Mike, because like I said, there's a million pieces of rain gear out there, and who knows what's the good stuff. And when you go to a place like Motorcycle Gear and they have all the inventory, you can try it on. It's been good stuff. Tank bag. This is the Nelson Rig Enduro Dual Sport tank bag. In the video, Mike, and I guess it's part of the Hurricane line, which is their new line, Nelson Rig's new line of adventure bags, which have a single plastic buckle on them. And maybe a smart person would have chose those, a little modern, that has been adapted to riders' feedback. But those bags, if you can find them online, they are super, super cheap. I'd go to motorcyclegear.com. I haven't checked to see if they still have inventory, but great bag, and I can't complain. But I do like those Moscow Moto bags. Small tank bag. As I said in the video, don't like tank bags. As a guy that loves bags, you think I'd love all types of bags, but I don't like the big tank bags. Jerod Foster had the big Moscow Moto tank bag and didn't seem to get in his way, but I don't know. Bigger the bag, the more you'll fill it up. This bag worked great. It's got the little plastic sleeve to put your phone in. The only thing is the zippers got gummed up. But that's because we had an extraordinary amount of dust on this trip because of how we were filming, and I was generally just following Jerod. But inside stayed dust-free and dry and had plenty of room, just enough space to put my stuff in. Maybe a critique, and I've seen this online, is make the inside of these bags a bright color, orange or yellow. Oveja Negra does that. Most bikepacking companies do that. That way you can see what's in these things. As you can see, everything's disappeared in there. And it's got a little zipper pocket. A great little bag. Fill the bike up with gas, flip it over. Worked flawless. I can't say enough about this bag. Like I said, the zipper got a little gummed up from dust. Good tip from Lane Wilson at Oveja Negra is they sell actually zipper lube. And I did not have any. You think I would with as much of a relationship I have with Oveja Negra, but in a pinch you can use lip balm, and Lane had recommended that to me before, so I just put a little lip balm on my zippers, and they work fine. In fact, they got really sticky, and now smooth. Great bag. I appreciate all the recommendations from Mike Stout and the crew over at Motorcycle Gear and giving us time. And let's, well, that's the review of the bags. And now we'll go to the next video. I appreciate you watching and bearing with me in this new direction with 10streamer.com, 10streamer podcast. And we'll see you over at the glove review.